Hey everyone, and welcome to this video. No, my channel is not becoming a photography channel, but I am getting back into photography a little bit. Was out a little over a week on a work-related injury, and as I was able to get out and about, my mobility was not impacted in any ways, thank goodness. But the other day, I got into my darkroom and I've got all my Nikon gear stored in there, or I did up until the other day. And thankfully, I was able to find all my Nikon Nikkor prime lenses, as well as zooms. Now, these are all manual focus lenses. I'll take you through a little bit about them and how I acquired them. In no way am I an expert. The Angry Photographer is probably the expert. If you can deal with his delivery and his kind of burned out style, he really knows these lenses inside and out. And as we go through these lenses, I'm going to point out a couple of them that he brought to my attention. One that I already had. I take that back. Two that I already had and one that I purchased. So here we go. This guy right here is a 80 to 200 fixed aperture at 4.5, and it is a C lens, and I believe it was AI converted. There's a lot of videos online that will go through AI and AiS and what that all means, but that's auto indexing. Now, lenses from this era suffer from a phenomenon called zoom creep. This is a push-pull lens. I've actually dampened it. It had full-out zoom creep, and I was able to dampen it with a couple of pieces of black electrical tape. Not the most elegant solution, but it works. You can see these beautiful color markings on there for your depth of field and focusing, and you've got all the popular ranges right notated right on there: 105, 135, 200, 90, and 80. But those of you who are into bokeh and your quality of your out of focus areas, you will not be disappointed with this lens. Those of you who, well, I think of Frono's Photo, who's obsessed with sharpness, you will not be disappointed with this lens. What can you use it on? Your higher end Nikon digital SLRs. I have an ancient D300, and I'm able to meter and focus. Manual focusing is great on that camera. But also your film bodies, anything from let's say the FE, FE2, F3, and I'm gonna pull out some of the camera bodies at some point. But you also have compatibility with your non-AI systems like the F2. I use these guys a lot on my F3. It seems to be a nice balance of weight and handling. The lens to the right is I'm not going to say rare, but it's a less common zoom Nikkor. It's the 50 to 135 f3.5 macro. This was my father's. He took beautiful care of it. The glass is exquisite. He even bought the optional lens hood, the HK10, and this is just a stunning piece of glass. Don't pay a lot of money for them. They're all going to have zoom creep, even though they say they don't. You know, if you're looking at eBay listings, they're going to have full out zoom creep. Same deal with this guy. I was able to put some black electrical tape on, and it just does a nice job of dampening. You've got those same, I love those color markings. It makes it feel like you've got a sextant out in the field. The next one is the 28 to 50 3.5. Also my father's. I'm guessing he bought this together with the 50 to 135. You see our markings for depth of field and focusing. Beautiful lens. Also characterized as a macro. And by the way, the macro settings on both of these are at 50 millimeters. Wide primes. I don't have a heck of a lot. I'm not a wide angle guy. I've identified a couple of areas of opportunity to fill in the gaps. I just don't like wide angle. It's not my bag. The widest prime that I have is this guy. This is a 28 millimeter f 3.5, and you might ask, well, why f3.5? I'm not going to use it that much indoors. You don't need a fast prime when you're outdoors in the field. Nice lens, nice glass. This next one, well, let's go back. The 28 I bought from a gentleman at Photographica, the twice a year indoor photographic flea market. Paid very little money for it, even had the original box. Not that that's a big deal. The next one, I love this focal length. This is a 35 millimeter f 2.8 AI. Beautiful lens. I paid next to nothing for it through shopgoodwill.com. I think I got it for 20 bucks, and it's a gorgeous, gorgeous lens. This next one, we get into, I've got three 50s right here. This is a Series E f 1.8. These came out in conjunction with the Nikon EM. This lens was given to me. My son and I were at Photographica, and a gentleman came up to us. Was thrilled that my son was getting a little into photography. Gave us a Nikkor F mechanical body camera along with this beautiful lens, 50 1.8 E series. This next one, this is a top pick by Angry.photographer. This is a 50 millimeter 1.4. Beautiful. Stop down to about 2 to 2.5 and up. Just razor sharp. Handles beautifully. The focusing ring is just buttery smooth. Nice lens. But my favorite, this was my dad's 50 millimeter 1.8. One of these days I'm going to do a comparison between this guy and the Series E. But I can tell you, wide open, even wide open, it's a beautiful, beautiful lens. And some of you might say, well, Why don't you want a 1.4? Why don't you want a 1.2? I haven't heard great things about the 1.2. I have a 1.4. I think the 1.8s are actually better lenses. So we jump up to telephotos. The 105 2.5. Beautiful, stunning portrait lens. Steve McCurry took his famous photo for National Geographic of the Afghan girl with the same lens. I've taken portraits of my son. Stunning. Just stunning. Maybe a little bit too long for DX crop body sensor cameras. Certainly for portraiture, but you might notice there's a little bit of a gap here between my 50s and the 105, and that's because I haven't found any 85s at reasonable prices. They're just so expensive, and I'm not going to pay extra money just for a focal length, just to fill in the gap. But in a perfect world, I'd get an 85, and on the wide side, I'd get a 24. But this is an incredible lens. Very, very cheap still on eBay. Those of you who buy lenses on eBay, caveat emptor, as Mike Brady would say, just be very careful. This next one, a choice of the Angry Photographer, the 135 2.8. I think it might be the best telephoto lens that Nikon has ever built. This one came with my F3. Yeah, my F3. When I bought the F3, this was basically thrown in, and I had this lens before the Angry Photographer touted its virtues. Ken, once again, is spot on. It is an incredible lens. And finally, my last telephoto. This was a choice of the Angry Photographer. You see these two lenses here have the built-in lens hood, so you don't have to buy anything extra there. This is a 200 f4. Blows me away with the bokeh, the sharpness. It is an incredible lens. I bought this right after the Angry Photographer gave his review, and once again, Ken was spot on. So that is my collection of manual focus, prime, and zoom lenses. I love them all. I love some better than others. None of these lenses are disliked. I love them all. Like I said, some I love better than others, but these lenses are versatile. They can be used on your digital cameras. Some will meter fine, some won't. Some you'll have to use menus that are buried inside the collection of menus, and that's why I hardly shoot digital anymore. Menu after menu after menu, and with my film bodies, I've got buttons, I've got rings, tactile, aperture, shutter speed, the very basics of photography, and you're not fretting about chimping over the back of your camera looking to see if a shot came out right. It's just you, the camera, the subject, the film, and the thrill you get when you process or develop your own film. I hope you enjoyed this video. Take care for now.